Alright, what's going on everybody? Welcome back to another video here on the channel, and today I want to talk about this whole Brittney Griner situation. I don't know if you guys have heard about this. I feel like at this point over the last 6 months or whatever, it's gotten to the point where it's gotten so much news coverage, there's been so much mainstream media attention on this situation that a lot of people pretty much already kind of know what I'm talking about. But so for those of you who don't know, Brittney Griner is actually a professional WNBA basketball player here in the United States. She was famous before this entire situation because she's been widely considered one of the better WNBA players in the league for a long time. I knew about Brittney Griner before all of this. Well, Brittney Griner basically a few months ago, let me get this exact here. So on February 17th, she was arrested by Russian authorities for possessing two marijuana vape cartridges, I guess, or more specifically, it was hashish oil, and this was at an airport near Moscow, right? And the Russians held her, they eventually took her to court and everything, and she was there sentenced to 9 years in prison for drug charges. That was all the way back in August. Well, today she is officially free. The United States did a one-on-one prisoner swap with Russia to free Brittney Griner. She is apparently on a plane on her way home and everything. And I want to preface this by saying, honestly, I'm glad that Brittney Griner is free, right? Because most people, I feel like, will agree that, possessing two vape carts, that's not the biggest offense ever. Did she genuinely deserve 9 years? Not necessarily. I'm one of these people, I don't think weed should be one of those things that you go to jail for. But of course, I'm going to talk about this in the video because I do not like the way that this was handled whatsoever. And honestly, I think this whole situation is absolutely embarrassing for America. As an American citizen, as someone who loves my country, as someone who is very passionate about marijuana and legalization and all these different issues, right? I don't think this was handled the proper way. I don't think this was the correct way to go about things, and it just makes us look fucking stupid if we're being honest. So, like I said, Brittney Griner arrested for two vape cartridges with hashish oil, and honestly, I'm just gonna say here, she said it was a mistake. She didn't know it was in her carry-on or whatever. That's not really a valid excuse. If I walked into the airport and TSA found a fucking AR-15 in my backpack, and they were like, oh, hey, how did this get in there? And I'm like, oh, I don't know how that got in there. It was an accident. I'm going to prison forever, bro. It's over at that point. So this whole thing just it doesn't look good, okay? And here's why. So, like I said, they did a one-on-one prisoner swap with Russia to basically bring Brittney Griner home and free her off her charges and everything. Now, the prisoner that we ended up swapping with Brittney Griner in this situation is actually a man by the name of Victor Bout, okay? Now, this guy is a legitimate menace to society, right? If there's someone that deserves to be in jail, it's that man Victor Bout. Bro, honestly, I don't know how, you can really sit here and debate whether or not, oh, Victor Bout should be free. He just simply shouldn't. So, he's actually a Russian arms dealer, okay? He was a former Soviet military translator, and he used numerous companies to smuggle weapons throughout Europe, Africa, the Middle East, all these different places during the 1990s and early 2000s. His weapon smuggling is undoubtedly responsible for the deaths of many people. He is literally known as the Merchant of Death because this guy is such a fucking criminal. This guy has done so much wrong, has caused so much pain, misery, strife onto the world, and we basically traded this guy back to the Russians, gave him freedom for a fucking WNBA player who I guess wasn't smart enough to check her carry-on and make sure that no prohibited materials would be inside of her packaging, right? So let that really kind of sink in for a second. We traded a fucking WNBA star who didn't check her bag, I guess, and smuggled cartridges essentially into a foreign country for a man who spent the better part of 15 years smuggling weapons across 3 continents and helping fuel crime cartels and probably fucking illegal militias and everything else across numerous different areas of the world. Does that really seem like a fair trade to anybody, right? If we look at this objectively, please explain to me how we won this trade. Now, like I said, do I think Brittney Griner deserves to spend the rest of her life in a fucking Russian prison or something because she had 2 hashish cartridges? Absolutely not. I don't think that. But one thing I've been hearing a lot recently, and this is a little unrelated, but the World Cup is going on right now. For all my primarily international audience, I know a lot of us Americans don't really care about football/soccer, but I do. Well, it's being hosted in Qatar this year, right? And, well, Qatar is notably anti-LGBT. They banned alcohol at the World Cup and everything. And one of the big arguments I heard for people, like, supporting this was, you guys need to learn the customs and the traditions and learn some respect for these other countries, man. They don't have the same practices and laws that we have here, so you need to respect their fucking cultures and respect their laws. But the same people saying shit like that are now saying, oh, well, Russia's law is actually really screwed up. Brittney Griner didn't deserve that. Like, make it make sense. So it's okay for these other cultures to just be fucking homophobic, transphobic. That's completely cool. You gotta accept that. But then when this country fucking imprisons somebody for a marijuana card, all of a sudden it's not about practicing their laws and their traditions and their customs anymore. You're not saying, oh, if you don't like it, don't go to that country anymore. Make it make sense. And on top of that, let's think about this too as an American, right? Here in the United States, we have imprisoned God knows how many thousands of people for simple marijuana possession charges, for, you know, leaving marijuana in a fucking plastic baggie when they get pulled over and it counting as trafficking because of that. People that were just feeding their families selling fucking booted weed out on the street corner, right? That are serving years upon years of their lives in prison. But we as a country will go out of our way to trade a convicted Russian arms dealer that has caused actual fucking problems for the world for a fucking basketball professional who wasn't smart enough to make sure she wasn't smuggling her fucking cart knights into the country, right? Literally make that make sense. Like, imagine, right, you're sitting in some American prison for a possession charge you got 7 years ago. You got another 4 years or something on your term. I don't know. I mean, it varies by state. Marijuana laws in the U.S. are very complex, you know. Here in Ohio, it's actually decriminalized, so unless you got like 7 pounds of it in the trunk from the cartel about to sell it to people, you pretty much just get like a ticket or a fine. It's not really that big of a deal, but I know like in some states, like possession of marijuana is still a fucking felony. You know what I mean? Like, you can literally get a felony charge. But yet our country went out of our way to rescue this woman from prison because she had 2 carts and got a fucking stupid prison sentence from the Russians. You know damn good and well that if I got on that plane to Russia and I had 2 carts in my carry-on and I got a 9-year charge and I was sitting there fucking, you know, breaking up with the chain gang or whatever, how quick do you think President Biden or anyone in the US government or anyone in the fucking American society would be to scream, "Free Optimus, man, he didn't do anything wrong"? In fact, a very similar situation to this has actually unfolded somewhat recently, and, well, as you can imagine, no one gives a fuck because guess what? The guy's not famous, right? So, I want to introduce you guys to the story of a man named Mark Fogel, okay? He is an American citizen. He is currently being imprisoned by the Russians for having prescribed medical marijuana in his luggage. So he tried to go to Russia. He had a prescription for marijuana for medical use, right? It's not like he was fucking smoking his cart night, just trying to get blasted and have some fun in Russia, right? This is like a medical prescription. Not only did he receive a harsher sentence than Brittney Griner in a maximum security prison, but the United States State Department doesn't even list the guy as wrongfully detained. So he arguably had a more justifiable marijuana offense than Brittney Griner. He's not famous. He's not a fucking basketball player. He got a tougher sentence and no one cares, including the government. Like, make that make some sense to me. You know, all these people who are fucking morally grandstanding about Brittney Griner. Oh, you guys only don't want her to get free because she's a woman, man. She's a woman. That's why no one wants her free. No, it's because there's fucking American citizens sitting there for even more bullshit reasons that our government isn't stepping up to bat for whatsoever. They're not even attempting to get this guy out of jail. They don't even list him as wrongfully detained, but yet Brittney Griner, oopsie daisy, I accidentally carried some fucking cart knights into the country. Oop, don't know how that got in my bag, officer. Next thing you know, they got the fucking Fortunate Son playing and they got the helicopter coming in to pick her up, you know what I mean? It just doesn't make sense to me, dude. Like, it makes us look fucking stupid. And rightfully so. We just look like a bunch of fucking morons now. Like, we literally traded, I cannot stress this enough. Like, the more I think about it, the more it just blows my fucking mind, okay? We traded a convicted Russian arms dealer for a basketball player, okay? Look, like I said, I don't think Brittney Griner deserved, what, 9 years in some max security Russian prison or something crazy. If it were up to me, yeah, you wouldn't get in trouble for having marijuana on you, right? Because, I mean, I'm gonna sit here and say, I smoke weed every day of my life, right? I fuck with weed, I enjoy it, I think it should be fully legal, recreationally, medically, everything, right? But it's funny how quickly that argument changes, right? Oh, you have to respect other people's cultures and traditions and respect the laws of their country. But apparently, if you're a famous basketball player, it's just completely okay. You don't have to pay attention to their laws and rules, because it's ridiculous all of a sudden. But yeah, you won't see any of these people, any of these fucking check marks over on Twitter, anybody, you know, Biden or anyone saying, oh, we should get Mark Fogel out of jail. He had a prescribed medical marijuana in his luggage, right? You don't ever hear anything like that. Where's the fucking news articles for months on end about this guy? Oh, yeah, I forgot. You know, if you're not rich and famous, it doesn't fucking matter. Oh, but Optimus, Brittney Griner's not rich. Have you seen the amount of money that WNBA players make? It's not that impressive. She's, according to a website I just looked at, worth $17 million. That's not rich to you, man? I don't know a single person in my life who has $1 million in general, bro. But you want to tell me that her having a $17 million net worth doesn't make her rich? Like, let's get real here. It's just fucking privilege. If this woman wasn't the centerfold of the national media over this situation for the last, like, fucking, what, 10 months? Something like that? Constantly hearing calls to free her on social media, like every month we get a new update in the case, the fucking media runs off with the entire thing again, right? Nobody would care. Nobody would give a fuck, because at the end of the day, and I know this is the harsh truth, this may just be controversial for me to say, her getting arrested is 100% without a shadow of a doubt, just objectively her fault. If you don't know the laws, customs, and traditions of a country that you're visiting before you go, do not fucking go. It's that simple. You wouldn't see me trying to go to North Korea with a fucking AR in my backpack, because if I did that, guess what? I'd be probably breaking rocks with the chain gang for 25 years, being forced to say I love Kim Jong-un 50 times a day on a chalkboard. In these kinds of countries, bro, and this is the thing I really want to wrap it up with here. Here in the West, I feel like we've gotten too comfortable with some of our laws and traditions, and we don't realize that there's places in the world where they genuinely don't fuck around, bro. Like, yeah, here in the US, you know, in certain states, you can walk down the street with a blunt in your hand, fucking puffing smoke like you're fucking Snoop Dogg. And yeah, sure, no one's gonna say anything, but yeah, guess what? This isn't the United States anymore. You are going to a foreign country that is strict about everything. You have to make sure 100% you know what's in your carry-on. It's that simple. I don't even understand how you can even make the argument like, I don't know what was in my own carry-on. That'd be like going to school and being like, oh, I don't know that gun was in my backpack. Like, no, you're just a fucking idiot, bro. Like, you can't get around that. Me, like, I don't know, I'm a little bit of an anxious person, but I would never even attempt to go to the airport without second, triple, quadruple checking everything in my bags. Simply for reasons like this, because do you really want to deal with this shit? I don't know, but it just makes us look like fucking idiots. We really traded a convicted weapons dealer, nicknamed the Merchant of Death, for a WNBA player who was too stupid to look through her carry-on before she went to the airport. It doesn't make sense. It makes us look weak and fucking moronic, and at the end of the day, I'm not in full support of this one. Do I think she deserves to be in jail? No, not necessarily. But it's just funny how quickly those arguments dissolve and how little people care about the, everyday American citizens that are dealing with even more bullshit from Russia in this situation. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like. Subscribe if you're brand new around here on the channel. Follow me over on Twitter and Twitch at @SubToOptimus. Make sure to check out Shoptimus down below. Thank you to my Watch Optimus subscribers. Your support helps my channel tremendously. And until my next video, guys, this is Optimus, stunned about this whole situation, to be honest, and signing out.